All right, hello everybody. Welcome to the February Azure Infrastructure Partner Community Call. Want to make sure that everybody's hearing me okay. So if you can hear me, please type whether you had coffee or tea this morning um, in the message window. Oh, okay, great. Had coffee, tea, and somebody else had a smoothie as well. So good. That means you can hear me. Um, So we will be recording the call, so I just want to let everybody know that. So if you have any issues with being recorded, please drop now. We actually will post the recording to the Yammer group in a couple days, so that will be there, as well as the presentation will be available soon after the call. So with that, I just want to introduce you to the February Azure Infrastructure Community Partner Community Call. This month we'll be discussing SAP and Microsoft, kind of giving you an overview of the Azure architecture and how it supports SAP, as well as giving you a little bit of information about the partnership between Microsoft and SAP. We plan to follow this up with this will actually be a two-part call. So next month we'll continue on with this topic, and we'll have SAP on the call to describe their offering and solution. So with that, I will turn it over to Chris.
Thanks, Willie. Again, can everyone hear me on the call? I just want to confirm that before I get started.
Yes.
Good. Okay, perfect. Thank you. So welcome, everyone. Good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you are. My name is Chris Deering. I'm an SAP Partner Solutions Director with Microsoft's Enterprise Partner Team. I have been working on or around SAP for the past 20 years. The last 16 have been at Microsoft. And over the last several years, it's been my pleasure to work with a lot of our partners who focus on SAP and have been developing an SAP on Azure practice. We'll talk a little bit today about what we sell, what we offer, Microsoft offers around an SAP customers event. We'll talk about Microsoft's relationship with SAP as a global alliance partner, and then we'll go into a little bit more detail about the maturity of Microsoft Azure and what is possible to leverage today with your customers as they begin their journey to the cloud. So with that, I wanted to just highlight the three key pillars that Microsoft has to offer customers around SAP. So at the top, the first one, we call it our Microsoft Cloud Platform for SAP software solutions. And that's really where most of your customers are going to be interested in. And it deals with SAP ERP, SAP ERP solutions based on NetWeaver, SAP HANA, BW for HANA, and just to level set, we're talking about infrastructure as a service. We're taking a customer's traditional SAP landscape, we're virtualizing it, and we're making it available as an Azure virtual machine. So customers still have to continue to maintain and manage the SAP system just like before, but it's actually now in the cloud. Is there a question?
Yes, Chris, sorry to jump in. We're actually just seeing a black screen. Are you sharing the presentation?
I am sharing the presentation. Let me see if I can change that very quickly.
Okay.
One moment, I'll make sure that works. Okay, I've changed the way I'm sharing the screen. Let me know if you can see that now.
Okay, it looks to be loading now.
Okay.
And okay, I'm able to see something. If you're able to, as a participant, if you're able to see the presentation now, if you could just give a quick thumbs up or yes. Okay, we're back in business. Thank you.
Okay, great. So I'm glad we had our technical issues 4 minutes in, so that's a good thing. So as I was saying, the key pillar of Microsoft solutions around SAP is our Azure infrastructure for their SAP landscapes. But the additional value add that Microsoft can provide, and this is applicable to many of our customers, is the fact that we provide deeper integration to SAP via our Office Productivity Suite. We have an SAP NetWeaver gateway for Microsoft Office 365 integration. We also clearly stated at last year's SAP Sapphire event that we're building with SAP deeper integration between SAP's business networking applications and Office 365. So those are the applications that born in the cloud applications like Concur, SuccessFactors, Ariba, Hybris. So as customers continue to deploy those solutions, they're going to be able to get more value by connecting them up with Microsoft Office 365. And then the last pillar is really analytics and insights. And this is where customers are going to be able to connect an SAP landscape to Power BI. We have a BW connector today. We have the ability to extract data and do real-time connections directly to our entire Cortana Intelligence Suite. And it's not really positioning this as a replacement for an SAP Analytics event. It's really about choice, giving the customers the ability to leverage the technology that they are interested in. So that's something that we can provide and provide a really good strategic value and add to a customer's expectation on what they can do with Azure and with Microsoft around their SAP event. So with that, I also wanted to highlight, the relationship between Microsoft and SAP. So last year was a pretty significant event. SAP has their annual conference called Sapphire every May, and we were able to, at Bill McDermott's invitation, Satya Nadella traveled to Sapphire and was on stage with him, and that was pretty significant to arrange the schedules of two of these senior leaders of both of these companies. But Microsoft, Satya felt it was very important to meet Bill McDermott on stage and convey Microsoft's commitment. Okay, not only our commitment to our customers, but our commitment to working with SAP and making sure that we're going to provide the best cloud and productivity experience for customers now and moving forward as we continue to mature. So we wanted to give that confidence to folks. Going forward, in addition to the three pillars I just mentioned, SAP is actually betting on Microsoft as well. They're starting to develop and deploy solutions on Azure and giving customers the ability. And one example is they announced in October of last year that they're going to be giving customers the alternative to deploy SuccessFactors on Microsoft Azure. So they can do it in the traditional data center that SAP inherited when they acquired this SuccessFactors organization. But we're also going to give them the ability to deploy the SAP Software as a Service application on Azure. And this is just the first of many things. So Microsoft and SAP are very much committed to working together to the mutual benefit of our customers. And I really wanted to stress that because almost every SAP customer is also a Microsoft customer. And so it benefits us if we work well together. It also benefits our partner ecosystem because the more we are aligned, the easier and the more efficient it becomes to allow you to deliver services to these customers. So now I want to kind of change gears and talk about why Azure for SAP solutions, because customers have many options out there. But the one thing I really, really want to stress is this 20-year relationship with SAP. Microsoft and SAP oftentimes are seen as competitors, and many times we're seen as cooperating closely together as alliance partners. There's always going to be some form of that for two very large organizations that have a variety of products and services. But throughout it all, we've always had a very good dialogue and a very good executive relationship, engineering relationship, and sales relationships where we're always finding ways to work very closely together. Now, and that's not to say we're not competing. There are areas where we do compete, but we do it in a very, very conservative way. So we're going to work through that. Putting an SAP landscape on Azure gives you the ability to rethink the operational complexities of an SAP landscape. It can be challenging and costly and resource intensive to maintain and manage and deploy an SAP landscape. Azure gives you the ability to reimagine that. So provision a sandbox in minutes instead of days or weeks and having to get the hardware in place. Using the tools and the standard capability of Microsoft Azure gives you the ability to provide the robust security, to provide the performance, yet the ease of the management cockpit. That's if I stress nothing else today, SAP is just another workload on Azure. So you would maintain and manage that workload consistently as you would other Azure workloads. So it helps with that. So you're not introducing new technology into an organization. Probably given the fact that the public cloud, hyperscale clouds such as Azure and even Amazon are maturing in the market today, and SAP is a customer's mission critical landscape. It's where they perceive a lot of risk if you want to make a significant change. Hybrid IT is really key. If a customer is not comfortable yet to move their full SAP production landscape, we have fantastic capability and ability to introduce a hybrid solution where part of their landscape, their dev systems, their training systems, their test systems, and sandboxes are in the cloud, yet their production systems remain on premises. So we have a lot of these different features, and of course, best-in-class support. Microsoft support remains the first wave of contact when you have an issue with Azure. Just like any other Microsoft SAP application, Microsoft has engineering resources sitting in SAP's headquarters in Germany. We have SAP resources sitting in our headquarters in Redmond, Washington, as well as around the world. So our engineering teams are very, very tightly coupled together to make sure that everyone has the best success possible. But in addition to just why Azure, we also want to really make sure people understand the various scenarios that I kind of alluded to earlier. So it's not just about moving productive workloads into Azure for SAP. It's about understanding the customer's requirements, understanding their business needs and where they stand from a project prioritization, and suggesting the right scenario for them to start with. So development and test, that's a consistent message that Microsoft has been providing. Start your customers' workloads to the cloud with dev and test. Work up to the production environments. And we do have lots of customers today running SAP landscapes for dev and test. We have more who are starting to move full production environments into Azure. But what's really key is introducing this concept of disaster recovery. So if a customer's landscape is still running on premises, Azure provides a very compelling and incredibly cost-effective solution for a DR environment. So for pennies on the dollar, if you will, we can introduce a disaster recovery solution for their SAP landscape if they don't have one, which unfortunately many customers do not have a good strategy, or we can put up a secondary DR site to just give them that additional level of safety for their SAP landscape. Another area that is really interesting for SAP customers because, let's be frank, business happens, mergers, acquisitions. There's lots of times where a customer has an SAP landscape sitting around that they just can't retire for audit or legal reasons. We can actually package that up into a VM and put it in the Azure cloud. And now you're only paying for your network connectivity or your storage. You're not paying for the compute if you're not actively spinning that system up, but it's available and can be quickly turned on whenever it's needed. So that's a really compelling solution in addition to the three others that I mentioned before. And in general, every customer is going to be a little bit different, but in general, we're seeing anywhere from 40 to 75% in cost savings. And we nearly every time we've had success with a customer, we've hit that 50% cost savings mark. So it's really helping them to get more control over this, more than often the highest budget item in an IT infrastructure spend. Okay, so not only can we save them money, but we can give them additional agility and we can give them additional flexibility and choice in their landscapes. Okay. These are some examples that we've kind of taken the names away of different workload wins. So as you can see, we've got several customers who have deployed as dev and test, production, demonstration systems, archiving, training systems, and DR. And these are just one example. The cost savings and the efficiencies will vary, but every one of them are continuing to grow the value the longer they continue to run on Azure. So I'm going to pause there and see if there's any questions. Willie, do we have any in the IM window?
Hi, Chris. We actually do not have any questions in the IM window regarding the presentation, regarding the information, but I do want to let everybody know that I will be posting the presentation on the Yammer group shortly after the call, so I'll provide a link here in the window for that shortly.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, so let's specifically talk about what is possible running SAP on Azure, and we have to divide them into two different groups. So one is traditional NetWeaver-based solutions, of which you can run multiple databases underneath. So SQL Server, Oracle, IBM DB2, or Sybase ASE, which is an SAP product that they acquired with their Sybase acquisition. These are where the vast majority of SAP customers are running today. Okay, we'll talk also about HANA, SAP's new architected database, HANA, and where that's going, because every SAP customer is thinking about it today if they're not actively deploying a project on that. But today we can provide solutions for all certified SAP databases. And if you're not familiar with the term SAPs, that is an SAP terminology. It's almost like using the term IOPS or MIPS for a mainframe, but just think of it as a unit of work, a unit of performance. And traditionally, SAP would be able to say you need a certain number of SAPs, and hardware vendors such as HP or IBM or Dell would be able to provide the certain size of box that they would need, a server box. Well, we provide the same level of terminology for our Azure VMs, and that helps customers and you as partners size the right landscapes. And for a 2-tier and 3-tier, we run benchmarks, and we go all the way up to 350,000 SAPs, and quite frankly, that, if you're not familiar with it, that will run nearly every SAP landscape in the world. There's only a handful that can't handle that workload. So Azure can certainly scale for the traditional workloads. Okay. Here's a couple of examples. So Australia Gas and Light, they actually were in the process of decommissioning their relationship with a hosting provider, and so they started to move a lot of their non-production workloads up into the cloud as they got their feet wet, if you will, with the cloud. They did some cost modeling, and they found out they were going to save 60% from what it was costing to put in a data center to the move to the cloud. Now, they continued to leverage the same partner to do managed services, and that's actually a really key point, is moving an SAP landscape out of a data center, whether it's hosted or on premises, into the cloud. Those services, those managed services, still need to be done, whether it's by the customer or by a partner. And so that's a really big opportunity for partners to engage with the customer and say, I'm going to move you, and I'm going to maintain it and handle it going forward. So definitely something to consider. The other example that I really wanted to highlight is a company called Zespri. They make kiwi fruit. They grow and distribute kiwi fruit out of New Zealand. And they actually had a journey to the cloud. So they had some challenges in their data center. In New Zealand, they had some natural disaster events, earthquakes, tsunamis, things like that, and it took them down for a while. So they started looking at the Microsoft Azure cloud several years ago when we first announced our certification with SAP for traditional workloads. And like any customer, they started with non-production systems. They set up a disaster recovery environment just to be sure that their data center, if it went down again, which was a high likelihood, would be covered. But they got so comfortable with the Microsoft Azure cloud, they decided that they were going to move their full SAP productive landscape into the cloud. And for the past year and a half, I think almost 2 years now, they have been running their SAP landscape in the Microsoft Azure cloud. And interestingly, even though this is a New Zealand-based company, they looked at where they did operations around the world globally, and they selected Microsoft's West Coast data center to house their system, because that was more centrally located to all of the offices that they needed to do business with. So Microsoft Azure gives customers the flexibility for a more geographically dispersed option with their data center. So that's another benefit to the cloud. Okay, now we want to talk about HANA, and this is really important. Every customer running SAP has got this on their mind, because SAP has stated that they will no longer support their NetWeaver-based solutions in 2025. So that's coming fairly fast in an IT world. And, 7 years is not a lot of time to plan for a major change to your IT infrastructure for your core ERP system. What customers have to do by 2025, as stated by SAP, is move on to their new flagship product, S4 HANA. So traditional SAP workloads is called R3, the third generation of solutions. SAP is re-architecting it, and it's called S4. So this is an opportunity. This is a really big opportunity for partners to go talk to customers and ask them, what is your journey to SAP HANA? What are your plans? Are you planning to move immediately, or are you planning to move in the longer term, maybe 5 years out? But at the same time, you ask them what is their journey to the cloud, because it's an opportunity to share and showcase Microsoft Azure's capability and really highlight the fact that no matter where they are on this journey, Microsoft can support them, whether it's implementing SAP HANA in our cloud immediately, or whether it's moving the traditional steady state workload onto the cloud, and then we can get them ready for HANA, and we can just simply provision different VMs when they're ready to move their HANA to the HANA workload. So it's a really compelling story that helps provide a roadmap. And that's really what a lot of executives are looking for, is help establishing the when, the how, and what is the project timeline that I need to put in place. Because even if they're not going to move right away, they're going to feel a little bit more comfortable knowing that they've got a plan in place now. So again, that's an opportunity for us. Microsoft's commitment, and I put this on a single slide just to be very sure, we are committed to providing the most performant and scalable cloud for SAP applications, including HANA. Okay, SAP HANA requires a lot of resources, and so we are putting a lot of resources and engineering behind our solutions to make sure that they are the best out in the market. And these are what's available today. Okay, the SAP BW and the Enterprise Suite, that's traditional data warehouse workloads, SAP BW running under HANA, or it's a standalone HANA instance used for data warehouses. And this is decoupled from the SAP application. Okay, it's not very common, but it's out there. Think of it as just a pure enterprise data warehouse. We can provide single nodes of 768 and 1.5 terabytes out in the market today that can then scale up to 32 terabytes. Now, this is where the architecture gets slightly different, because Microsoft's existing virtual machines, the largest in market today, are G-series VMs that are roughly 0.5 terabyte. Okay, so that's not a whole lot when we're talking about an SAP HANA landscape. With our large instances, our Azure large instances for HANA, we are providing dedicated, co-located, certified SAP HANA solutions for the HANA database. And we're coupling that together with all of our standard Azure VMs. So this is a dedicated solution that has been certified by SAP to guarantee the performance that the customers need for SAP HANA. Okay, so we're going to continue to do that. That's not to say within the next 6 months to a year, we're not going to hear more about Microsoft's VMs growing into larger multi-terabyte solutions. And when that does happen, we will be supporting that for the SAP landscape. Okay, so we do have a roadmap, an engineering roadmap that I'm not able to share today because it's not 100% locked in. But watch for more of that, and we'll be sharing a lot more when we showcase solutions at SAP Sapphire in May. So that's BW. SAP Business Suite is essentially the OLTP workload on SAP HANA. Okay, and that's traditional applications such as finance, CRM, HR, supply chain, things like that. And we have options for 1.5 terabytes or 4 terabytes for those systems on a single node. And the reason I say it's a single node is because SAP does not provide the architecture for scaling out on OLTP today. And so it requires a very, very large hardware investment for that. And so we're making that available. And I clearly want to state 4 terabytes is one of the largest instances available in a hyperscale cloud today. So Microsoft can make that happen. It's available currently in the U.S., and we have plans. We're bringing, this is announced, we're bringing instances online in Europe and in Asia by the middle of this calendar year, by the middle of 2017. So we're actually already taking orders from customers for when we do go live, but we're actively transacting these businesses in the U.S. today and have been since last fall. Okay. The next solution is S4 HANA, as we talked about. That's SAP's new solution. We're going to see a lot of customers who are planning their migration journey to that. Sometimes they're migrating what they've already got. Other times, if it's a smaller customer or it's a brand new division within their organization, they're going to implement a brand new, what we call greenfield implementation around S4 HANA. Okay, and that's available up to 4 terabytes as well. And typically those tend to start around maybe 1 terabyte. So it's really all about the size of the terabytes required for an SAP landscape. And then finally we have SAP HANA 1. That's not a very common scenario. I won't go into too much detail on that, but just be aware that that is a certified solution. Now, the last thing I really want to highlight on this particular slide is the fact that while we are, the maximum we're offering is 4 terabytes, we do have plans to announce and make available greater than 4 terabytes. And again, you're going to hear about that in the coming months from Microsoft and what our plans are. So that was a lot of information. I'll pause there again. Willie, are there any questions?
Hi, Chris. Thanks. Yes, we do have some questions. A couple here. One is you mentioned the ability to take legacy SAP systems and convert to a VM and store it in Azure. Is this limited only to Windows?
No, the answer is not. So with any cloud solution, you do have to have it on either Windows or Linux, and Microsoft Azure provides support for both of those. So if it's virtualized on premises today, either in VMware or in Hyper-V for Windows, we can easily convert that over and move it up into Azure. And a lot of SAP customers are running Red Hat Linux, they're running SUSE Linux, or they're running Windows and Windows and SQL, and those are all supported solutions to be able to move up into Azure as a virtual machine.
Okay, thanks. And I believe this slide and the discussion around it pretty much answered the next question. So just let me know if you want to add any additional detail. But the question is HANA supported today?
Okay, yes, and HANA is a fully certified and supported solution as certified by SAP. So I just really want to restate that every database solution, OS and DB solution that SAP allows is now certified for Azure. So, and that's really the point that I really wanted to drive home on this journey to HANA and journey to the cloud is we can give the customer the ability to move at their pace.
Okay, looks like we have one more question that came in. Can you talk about the licenses for SAP and SAP HANA?
Absolutely. It's a very simple licensing model. Bring your own license. The customers will need to be licensed for their SAP applications and their SAP HANA application, which they will already if they're running it on premises, and those will transfer. and then Microsoft will provide the Azure licenses, or partners will be able to resell it through a subscription process. So it's a very clean break. When it comes to Windows operating systems, again, Microsoft will provide the licensing. When it comes to Linux operating system, we have relationships obviously with SUSE and with Red Hat, and we can make sure that the customers are appropriately licensed.
Okay, thanks, Chris. That's all for now.
Okay, thank you. All right, and these are a couple of examples of customers who are, they were our early adoption customers, private preview customers. We actually had the CIOs of each of these customers on stage with us at Sapphire. And these customers saw significant value, and they're continuing to see significant value. We have, for example, a video case study that should be coming out fairly soon for Coates. Rockwell Automation started with their dev and test workloads, and they have continued to grow that over the past 6 to 12 months, and they're looking to move more and more solutions onto the SAP HANA workloads on Azure. I can tell you that we have had significant traction in this space. We've had customers in just the last 6 months sign up to start deploying their SAP HANA landscapes on Azure in the automotive industry, in the pharmaceutical industry, consumer product goods, oil and gas. So a lot of the different industries that you would expect who are very, very significantly invested in the SAP infrastructure, they're working with Microsoft and with our partners to start moving these workloads. So we're working very, very diligently at Microsoft to capture as many of these as we can and publish them and make them available for the public to see that we're working through this. So I can just stress that it has become a very, very strong momentum in the marketplace. These are public case study examples. So many of these are traditional SAP NetWeaver workloads, and you can see the links on the side here. So when you do have the ability to download those, you can pull the links down, or you can just go to Microsoft.com/customers and search for these names. But I also wanted to highlight the fact that there's a variety of ways that these customers have deployed. So some of them have deployed just a DR solution. Some have deployed to full production. Some have just done dev and test. Some have done sandboxes and training systems, things like that. The ones on the very bottom, of course, have deployed on SAP HANA on Azure. So we're going to see more of these as the year progresses, as we have more customer references and case studies. Now, the thing I really want to highlight for partners is we've invested a lot in kind of simplifying the sales process. And when we're telling our field sellers, our Microsoft field sellers, to go after this workload, one of the first things we tell them they need to do is identify a partner, identify a qualified SAP partner who can help you drive this workload. Because Microsoft does not have a lot of SAP focused sellers, and they don't have a lot of folks who can do the SAP. They just can't speak the SAP terminology to the customer as well as someone who is an SAP partner can. And probably the most important thing is we can't deliver on this solution without strong partners who are SAP HANA and SAP database migration certified. So we require that level of a collaboration with our partner community. Okay, so you can see in here the first two parts of the sales process is really more internal Microsoft. We're saying, hey, identify your partner or identify your customer first, and then just ask some basic questions. You know, what are they running? What's their plans for SAP HANA if they have it? Who's the partner in there? Do they already have an Azure commitment? Do they already have an Office 365 commitment? Is a competitor in there like AWS or HANA Enterprise Cloud from SAP, something like that? And that kind of helps you set the stage, but that partner question is really key because we want to understand which partners are already in there, if the customer has a good relationship with that partner or not, and then we very quickly want to identify the right partner if there's an opportunity to engage one. Now, in the blue box here, this is really key. We're asking a lot of our partners, our key partners, to have a sizing offer, okay? An SAP on Azure sizing offer. And that's an opportunity to get in front of the customer and say, let's talk about your SAP landscape. Let's talk about where you're going on your journey to HANA. Let's talk about your journey to the cloud. But probably most importantly, let me tell you what your SAP landscape is going to look like on Azure. And then we'll give you a cost. Because until you know what it's going to look like on Azure, until you can take the time to talk to them, review their SAP quick sizer reports to know what their SAP landscape is doing today, the performance characteristics and the operational aspects, and until you ask them where they're going and what they want to do, you can understand a to-be architecture and then tell them what it's going to look like on Azure. And that's really important because now we know what we're working with. Now we can give the customer a proposed roadmap. We can identify one of those scenarios that may work for the customer. We're not going to say move full production. Maybe we can tell them, hey, let's build a sandbox for your SAP HANA landscape. Or, hey, let's talk about moving dev and test and sandbox workloads and maybe put a DR solution in place for you to solve some critical issues today. And then we'll put an additional roadmap in place for the next several years on when you want to move to SAP HANA. So it really gives us an opportunity to build that relationship with the customer. But at the end of the day, we want to quickly give them an offer to do a sizing to figure out what it's going to cost them because now you've got a business case, and that's what they're going to do. And then very quickly, as part of this offer and this light workshop, we want to identify a pilot project. And I use that term very specifically. I'm not a big fan of the term POC, or proof of concept, because in general, when you're trying to prove something to a customer, they expect you to bring all the tools to the table. If we can identify a workload and move very quickly to pilot, we're consuming on their Azure consumption subscription. We're able to bring and start working on their workloads and bring it there. And most of the time, when you do a proof of concept, customers very quickly want you to start, they don't want to decommission it. They want to start moving more and more workloads. So let's call it what it really is, a pilot. The reason that's important around an SAP landscape is SAP landscapes require the premium SKUs from Microsoft Azure. So we require the very large VMs, even larger than what's generally available. We require express route connections because you need that high-speed performance between a customer's data center and Microsoft Azure. SAP landscapes require that. They're very chatty, if you will, with high IOPS. We require premium storage in order to provide the best performance for the SAP landscape. So all of those, if a customer wants to explore it, let's encourage them to get it set up, because if you do a POC, you're going to need all this anyway. So the customer's going to have to invest. So that's the direction we want to go. Now, here's an example of something I put together that's a basic tear sheet and says, hey, go to the customer and say, here's what Azure is, and these are the cost savings you're going to see, and many of these slides you'll recognize from early in the presentation. Or let me give you 3 examples of sizing offers. Okay, we can do the quick sizing, which I described. We can do a 2-day on-site workshop with you, or we can do an in-depth landscape assessment, or I hesitate to say proof of concept if we need that. This is an opportunity for you as a partner to give them the basic sizing offer, but also add other services around that if you need to and if you want to, because I recognize that every partner differentiates themselves with something that they do better than all the others, and they want to bring it to the customer, and that third option is the opportunity for you to work with that. So I'm going to pause there again. Are there any questions?
Hi, Chris. Yeah, we don't have any new questions as of yet.
Okay, perfect. So what I really want to stress is the fact that this is a consistent message that Microsoft is conveying to our field sales force, okay, globally. So this is the type of process, this is the type of message that you can expect our sellers to understand, and as a partner, you should be able to plug into this process, okay? And with that, that is what I really wanted to convey today. Hopefully this has been valuable for you. You can see we do have the Yammer group available if you do have any additional questions. I know we've got plenty of time left, so if you do have additional questions, please feel free to get them in there, and we'll address them right now.
Yes, thank you, Chris. I'll hold and I'll watch for questions coming in. So, yeah, if you do have questions or need some more information, please let us know. Just in the meantime, I want to let you know I'm actually posting the presentation to the Yammer group now. So that will be available here in the next couple minutes. And then in 2 or 3 days, we will have the call recording available. So it looks like one did just come in. Oh, I just answered it. It was when will the deck and recording be available? So the deck will be available in under 5 minutes, and then the call will be available in about 2 or 3 days.
All right, that sounds fantastic. So I guess in closing, I just want to convey this is a great opportunity for both Microsoft and you as partners, and let's get out there and don't be afraid to sell our Microsoft solutions around your customer who has an SAP landscape.
All right, great. Thank you, Chris, and to all the partners that were able to join. I appreciate you taking time out of your day to join. Again, this is a 2-part call, so we will look to continue this discussion during next month's partner community call. All right, thank you, and have a great day, everyone.